Disney is going a long way to fix their box office woes. They're going back to a genius. No telling how much it's going to cost, but today we'll tell you what they're doing to try to save the films of tomorrow. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure, as always, to welcome you here to the Pro Channel, where we continue to give you what you need to know to stay ahead of that culture curve. Entertainment analysis, you betcha. Theme park news, folks, we give Hollyweird the blues. All we ask is that you click the like button, and we'll explain what's really going on. All right, take a look at this out of Deadline from Justin Kroll. Disney taps Chris Sanders to write Lilo & Stitch sequel. Now, who is Chris Sanders, and why does this matter? Well, folks, Chris Sanders is the man behind the original Lilo & Stitch. He's also the man behind the original How to Train Your Dragon. And they brought him back to do the voice of Stitch, and they let him do some consultation work. But for all of you out there who said, oh, that first movie, I wanted it to be great, but it missed the mark, too many changes, a little bit delving into the issues of today, and marine biology should not win over Ohana. Well, they got a new writer, and his name is Chris Sanders, and he is basically the top of the top. You can't hire somebody better to do this. Literally, he's irreplaceable. Take a look at this. After writing and directing the 2002 animated pick, Chris Sanders is returning to pen the live-action sequel to the box office smash hit Lilo & Stitch. Sanders, who co-directed the original movie and voiced Stitch, reprised his voiceover role in the 2025 update. This year's live-action feature take of the 2002 classic animated title crossed the $1 billion mark. By the way, because of some of those changes to the script, it barely broke $1 billion. And if Elio had not sucked and stunk and made people say, no, I'm not going to see that, Lilo & Stitch might not have broke the $1 billion. So it took a long time, and it took another Disney animated film being terrible for it to do that. This year's live-action featured take of the 2002 classic animated title crossed the $1 billion. You got that. The original animated Lilo & Stitch grossed $274.7 million at the global box office. Of course, we know it became a massive cultural hit after the box office, and that's not adjusted for inflation, which it should be. Lilo & Stitch is a cornerstone brand for Disney. Last year, Lilo & Stitch consumer products made an estimated $2.5 billion plus, according to sources, and was one of 11 evergreen Disney franchises that surpassed $1 billion plus in retail sales in 2024. By the way, if you have been paying attention to the channel, Star Wars was number 2, and we are hearing, though we cannot corroborate, that Star Wars is dropping, and it's got them all panicked and freaked out about Star Wars being in those top 11 evergreen merchandising IPs. It's a big deal to Disney. It is a big, big deal. And the fact that Lilo & Stitch is in there means that they have every incentive to keep this going. And now they're willing to spend to get the original magic back completely, not just as a consultant and a voiceover artist, but he's flat out writing the movie. Chris Sanders is back, baby. Panel, why is this such a huge deal? And dare I say, a major win for everyone who has been wanting to go back to a healthier time in Hollywood?
It was just the summer of Chris Sanders, actually, with How to Train Your Dragon actually coming out in live action and Lilo & Stitch coming out in live action, within weeks apart from each other. That's a huge boon for Hollywood in general. But going forward, this guy has had a really, really prolific career. In fact, actually, most recently with Wild Robot, that was actually a great release back in 2024 right there. So I am very, very excited to have Chris Sanders back in the fold, especially when it comes to the future of maybe this live action franchise, because I think a lot of people, they were upset with some of the changes out there. Now, me, quite as much. I think I understood what they were going for, but for some, they had their issues. But I think Chris Sanders will have the audience in mind going forward.
I also want to point out Wild Robot, which was the closest that DreamWorks Animation has probably come to an Academy Award. That was also Chris Sanders. Chris Sanders is a fantastic writer and is responsible for a lot of a kind of an unsung era of Disney. It is now, but Chris Sanders is an excellent writer, and so Lilo & Stitch 2 is automatically going to be a better film than Lilo & Stitch 1, which was paint by numbers. I'm fine letting my kids watch it, but that movie was not breaking the mold.
Well, and I'll tell you this too, Jonas. Chris loves Stitch, of course. It's his creation, and it's probably the thing that will last even longer than Toothless. It's the thing that will last after his passing, and we hope that's decades and decades and decades and decades down the road. But he loves this character. At the same time, Disney probably spent a spaceship load of cash to get Chris Sanders to come back and write an entire movie. I mean, this is a man who has achieved everything you can, basically, in his. I mean, he's at the top. Like we said, he's the guy who did Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon that just came out this summer. Getting him to come back to do an entirely new script is Herculean on Disney's part. They made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it just points to the success of Lilo and Stitch live action. I think, $100 million invested, and this thing made over $1 billion. Profitability-wise, this has got to be the most profitable exercise they've had, especially in the live action space, but particularly with the cinema-driven or theatrical-driven films that they've released before. I mean, how many times have we talked about on this channel where they have big blockbuster tentpoles and so forth, and they just go nowhere or lose money entirely? This one was the exact opposite of that. So, yeah, I think they had money to wheelbarrow over to Chris Sanders because, well, this one was so profitable for them.
I also think it points to them recognizing what we've said is true. Now, I'm not saying that they listen to us every single day. That would mean that I know that, and I only surmise that. But Nat, they're making a change that could cause the second one to get to that $1.5 billion mark. And I thought the first one could have, if only not for some of the changes they made. I think, Nat, and maybe this is too optimistic on my part, Disney is never going to come out and say, boy, we screwed up some stuff in that first one and we could have made more money. They're never going to say that. And they don't have to say that. They shouldn't say it because they're a corporation. But I watch their actions, and as they make some of these changes that they're making, and it's starting now to kind of percolate up into the consciousness that we have here, that Disney's doing some things differently all of a sudden. And you tell me if maybe I'm wrong in being this optimistic. I wonder if the pendulum has finally shifted. Maybe we've come through the worst of Disney's days, and maybe they're starting to heal and make centrist, universalist, mass appeal product again. What say you?
Well, I think this is a clear signal that they at least saw what worked and maybe realizing what's not working. And at the same time, I don't obviously know what the storyline is going to be once this movie comes out. But if they also signal that maybe there's a return to Ohana or Nani comes back somehow, that might also tell us more about what they're realizing internally and what they're seeing with the numbers as well. But with Chris Sanders also fully coming back on, it means that they notice what works and what doesn't, and sometimes maybe they just didn't care and they just decided to do it their way for so long.
Culture, I'd say $10 says Gontu's going to be there. I'm going to bet that they better change the guy playing. Is it what's his name? Jamba. Jamba. So I started to say Jamba, then I thought, no, that's the name of the main area at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Which is also awesome, by the way, if you're looking for awesome areas. But look, they have to undo the things that, they were trying to insert to foil, something that would lead people back to this project. This was a no-brainer. Once I had the opportunity to see the film, I knew this is going to have a follow-up almost immediately. First of all, the film had most of the original heart, and by returning the writer and the man who basically created all of this to begin with to his rightful place for the next one, you can almost guarantee that this is going to feel like the island adventure it should have been, and a growth inside of a family rather than being on one, which is something Disney's famous for these days. But I'm looking forward to this. I've said nothing but positive things about this film, except for the changes since it came out. And how many of us can raise our hands and say we did that to a recent Disney film in the last year?
Yep. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, Culture. Yeah. I'll guarantee you that Chris Sanders, I'll guarantee you that with him writing it, we're not going to get Stitch flatulating into a punch bowl while Bruno Mars plays. It still might
smell like hot dogs in the theater, but I don't think that'll be Disney's fault.
Exactly. All right, folks, it's going to be raining chili dogs on Disney. So long as they get away from all the woke stuff, get away from the modernity, and go back to universal storytelling, it looks like they're willing to pay a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money to make that happen. Chris Sanders is a sign of that. It's all good this time because, ladies and gentlemen, we call balls and strikes. And when Disney gets it right, we're here to say so, even though they got a lot of cleaning up to do in a lot of the departments that are not quite done yet. Marvel, Star Wars, we're looking at you. Folks, it's time to bid you adieu, but we hope that you will help us anew. And that is, we're only asking you click that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, have you gone the way of thatparkplace.com? www.thatparkplace.com. It's the website that if you're not yet bookmarked to, well, you should be. A bastion of truth and knowledge when it comes to entertainment and everything that's going on. Go check it out today, folks. We would love to have you over there as well. All right, we are getting ready to head out, but do not fret, for we will put out 4 more videos tomorrow, so long as the good Lord allows. And we believe that probably, just might, happen. All right, until the next time we get to share time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Jump into the water!
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun.
Want it all, so I give them cannonball. Yeah!
Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio.
Arizona. Arizona. Pineapple pizza, Hawaiian ice freeze, yeah. Can't wait to be up. 3 days of you and me.
What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.